Live stream check, 2, 3.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this licensing subcommittee hearing. The first item of business on the agenda is to appoint a chair for this meeting. Councillors, can I have a nomination, please?
Councillor Powling.
Are there any other nominations? In that case, Councillor Powling, I'll hand proceedings over to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Hello and welcome along to this meeting on Wednesday, the 18th of June 2025. I am Councillor Cole Powling. I am the Councillor for Mersey and Parfleet Ward, and I will be chairing the meeting this afternoon. To begin, there are a few matters of housekeeping. With the exception of the Democratic Service Officer advising us, would all participants please mute their microphones unless I am invited to speak. I will ask for the item of business to be presented, and we will then proceed in accordance with the hearings procedure guidance, which will ensure that anyone who wishes to has ample opportunity to address the committee. To summarise the procedure, I will invite the licensing officer to present their report and then invite the personal licence holder to present their case. There will be an opportunity for any clarifying questions from the committee and for the personal licence holder to provide a final statement summing up their case. We may have a break at 12:30. 1:30? I don't. 1:30, subject to progress of the business. I'd like everyone to introduce themselves, so could I ask each participant in turn to confirm their name and they understand the procedures for the meeting? So if I start with the councillor to my left.
Councillor Lucky Akinyemi, Greenstead Ward.
Councillor Lewis Barber, Lexington Braeswood Ward.
Good afternoon, Rebecca Strawn, Legal Advisor.
Matthew Evans, Democratic Services Officer.
Sarah White, Licensing Team Leader.
Alison Chapman, Licensing Officer.
James Young, Operations Manager for Events, Colchester Fora.
Megan Ruff, Events Operations Support Manager for Amphora.
Thank you. Item 3 is substitutions. I don't have one. Item 4 now, declarations of interest. Do any councillors have any declaration of interest? None? We're now going to item 5, the Licensing Act 2003 premises licence application. Can I please invite the officer to present her report? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. The application in front of the committee today is for a new premises licence for St Nicholas Square in Colchester to enable the sale of alcohol and the provision of films Mondays to Sundays from 10 a.m. until 11 p.m. Objections to the application have been received from a local charity who has offices and counselling rooms in the vicinity, and their objection is set out in the report, Chairman. Whilst the representation raises issues around noise, members are advised that deregulations of the Licensing Act 2003 enable the applicant to have live and recorded music and other similar entertainment within the area covered by the premises licence between 8 a.m. and 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. without the need for a licence. The Council's discretion is therefore not engaged in conditions in relation to deregulated entertainment can't be added to the licence, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Have any questions on the report? Okay. Do I ask for if you'd like to present your report or case, please? Thank you.
Sure, if I could just give you an overview of what the aims and objectives are around this licence, really, in terms of what we're trying to achieve for Colchester as Colchester Fora, an arm's length company for Colchester City Council. And obviously the plans here are not to fill the space with uncontrolled, unregulated entertainment. The reason for the application is for the premise to have a level of control. What we would like to do is obviously having myself and supporting team as the DPS or the DPS representatives, we can control what goes on in the space. Now that doesn't mean by any means of trying to be Big Brother or the police and prevent local businesses or industry playing a part in what we hope will be the animation of a very, very sought after and valuable city centre space. But what it does allow us to do is have some element of control in terms of times of operation and ensuring that the entertainment programme that takes place there is suitable for city centre of Colchester.
Thank you for that. Do any Councillors have any questions to?
Thank you, Chair. This is a welcome proposal for the town centre. We want to see more businesses here. My concern is, having read the letter from the said charity that spoke to you, I think Megan, you spoke to them. They are disappointed that you had a stakeholders meeting, but they weren't invited, which probably makes them feel like they're being excluded on purpose. Could you explain why that happened, please?
The term stakeholder is programming stakeholder. So obviously the appeal, by the person appeal, in terms of the idea of this space is to animate it. It's not to try and, we don't want to, exclude anybody from commenting, and that's the purpose of us putting in for this licence. But in terms of animating the space, we've got a stakeholder group that liaises with operational parties such as licensing, in terms of economic development, Lion Walk, property owners who own the George Hotel and obviously the hotel there, Roots and Crews, Three Wise Monkeys, businesses which are directly around the space. I don't discount the fact that obviously the appeal here is to discuss people who feel they may be affected by the activities that go on in the square. So obviously the mitigation we would put in place, and again coming back to the controls we'd have in place, would be to not affect those nearby businesses detrimentally at all. And I understand the sensitivity around certain businesses that operate in the area. There's no intention to exclude those from a stakeholder group, but the stakeholder group is about the animation of the space, not a consultation group. However, I'd be happy to take that further and have a further consultation group. However, I just didn't want to, be curbed too much. I don't mean curbed too much in terms of the activities, but curbed too much in the process of trying to animate a space to attract people into a city centre.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, my question is more for officers in terms of the scope of decision. Just to make sure I understood the point correctly, we can't do anything effectively around noise levels because that's deregulated, and as such, this is more to do with the alcohol provision today, if I understood.
That's right, yes.
Okay, so the impact of alcohol on the area rather than noise events effectively around that.
Under the Licensing Act, the regulated entertainment, or a vast amount of the regulated entertainment is deregulated between 8 AM and 11 PM. So any licence holder is able, by virtue of their premises licence, as long as that area is covered by their premises licence, is able to have live and recorded music in that area between those hours. Outside of those hours, but that's not relevant here because they're within the deregulated hours, you would need a licence. But within those hours, it comes by virtue of that. The mechanism then for control of noise, should it become an issue, would be to review the premises licence, and then if the committee was so minded and the evidence was there, they'd be able to attach noise conditions. But at this point, the committee's discretion isn't engaged because it's not a regulated entertainment, so you can't add conditions. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Thanks. So in a sense, if let's say there was and this charity found there was an ongoing issue with noise following the grant of premises licence, that would be something we could at that point revisit if necessary.
That's right, yes. I mean, I think it might be helpful for members if you explain, I think within the representation there's a reference on the 65 dB, so it might be helpful, I think, if you can explain that, and also perhaps the sort of events you think in that area, because it is a residential area, as you already know.
Yeah, happy to run through, and like I say, just to reiterate, in terms of having the licence on the site is seen as a control measure to ensure we've got some kind of regulatory form on the site. The whole idea is we want to have markets, charity events, bringing in things like Invasion Colchester, linking it with events that are already going on across the city, so we can programme across. So we're bringing people to the city. Ideal example of that is there's a soapbox event going on in September. We want to use that as one of our animation spaces. We want to be able to have acoustic sessions within there. Like I say, not everything has to be about noise. It can be about working with businesses and residents it's alike. Obviously, we've also got a booking process which is in place, so that ties in. We obviously, as Colchester Amphora, we regularly manage and maintain spaces. So this space would have a booking procedure as well, and also it would link in once it has a license, obviously with SAG processes, event management documents or anything like that. So the type of events we obviously want is a mixed and wide variety. Not everything is about generating noise. It's not about, you know, holding raves in the middle of a city centre. What it is the hours we've applied for, I think, are reasonable. And obviously in terms of predominantly the events would be taking place probably around Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, potentially bank holidays. You know, we're not looking at populating events on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, every waking day of a week or of a month. Again, in terms of the impact on surrounding business and properties, you know, we want businesses to have involvement of events. It's not about us putting events in there. It's about having a programme committee. The residents, similar to what we do with other licensed venues we have, and I think this is probably, obviously Megan did have a meeting in terms of discussing the 65 dB limit. That's some kind of word. Obviously, noise can take different levels of nuisance, and we don't want to be a nuisance to anybody. We want to have reasonable noise outputs. Obviously, in terms of, it very much depends on the space where you hit a 65 dB noise limit. You know, it depends how, and the proximity of properties is very close on St Nicholas Square. So I think it'll be very important for us to monitor that situation and make sure we're not, you know, in terms of the diaries, not overpopulating events of a noise making genre. Do you want to say anything about the discussion you had?
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify in terms of context to the reference of the 55 and 65. So that was in reference to Castle Park. I was given an example on how we control noise for other events, and they're the limits that come with Castle Park. So that was the link there.
Is that okay, Chair? Sorry, in terms of, does that give an overview?
Yeah, I think so, thanks. I mean, I suppose the fact that noise isn't effectively in the scope of decision today means this particular aspect of the discussion, I guess we can't really go any further on it, and it's one to, I guess, for us to monitor if there's complaints coming in due course. So yeah, no, I don't have any further questions on that, thanks.
Thank you. Also, the time was specified. If I could just ask the officer, that it's within standard timings anyway, isn't it? It's not going beyond 11 o'clock in the evening. Is that correct?
I mean, each case in terms of times aren't its own merits, but in relation to the deregulation, yes, it's within the deregulated hours.
The only question, reading through what the complainant or discussed, I think you're almost answering one of the questions that they've asked. What they want is engagement. The biggest thing is engagement. We can't do anything, roughly talking about the noise, but they were worried about what sort of events are going to be there, the noise, and I suppose if you're willing to engage with them and sort of bring them along, that possibly might not be an issue. I think that the biggest concern was the fact that they possibly are worried about you're going to have movies every night. They were sort of concerned about the frequency of things, but listen to what you've said myself, I believe, I don't want to have plans to think, you hopefully will engage with the businesses there to say what is going on. So I think that'd be good to keep that engagement going.
Sorry, I think just building on from what Councillor Powling said, I think in terms of engagement with the charity, I think particularly effectively your relationship with Colchester Council, I think we'd like to see an expectation that is widened and to make sure that is a bit more of a deeper dialogue beyond stakeholders who have events. I do get what you're saying in terms of why certain groups have been invited, and I think if there's anything that can be done to even just event timing, sometimes if, you know, liaising with the charity or other organisations, it could be that small amendments might make a big difference to, for if we just use this example of this charity. So I think that engagement could help minimise potential for conflict going forward. So I would, I'll take what you said, so you don't necessarily need to comment any further on that. But I think just to stress from my perspective that I would hope to see that engagement to make sure that any conflict is minimised as much as possible. And like I said, we've all seen it, small amendments can make quite a big difference to people who are in the vicinity of situations like this. So, but I don't expect you need to make, you're welcome to obviously, but you don't need to make any comment on that necessarily.
Just to reassure you on that to comment in terms of the engagement, obviously we can do that one-to-one. We're not hiding anywhere. We're very accessible in terms of contact. It may be that we, you know, again, when we look at we are at the stage of, you know, progressing with events here, hopefully having a contact number if there's any noise nuisance or any issues around that. The supply of alcohol obviously is you know, again, we'd have all the control measures. We've already got the comments back on the licence on the supply of alcohol. But yeah, just to reassure you as a committee that, you know, it is a public open space that we're programming for the people of Colchester, the businesses, all businesses, and every comment is respected and will obviously take the relevant action.
Lovely. Any more questions?
Hi, thank you. I just wondered if you'd be able to talk us through a little bit, you're applying for an alcohol licence, just how that actually transpires in the real world. How will you be selling alcohol? Do you envisage this every day? I think it would help the committee to understand that application and how you actually will set up the sale of alcohol in the space.
I think it will take different forms in terms of, in some forms it will be us selling alcohol as the DPS with full responsibility. On other occasions it will be when obviously we've applied for honour sales, so market traders who will be selling, you know, and if you picture a Christmas market, people selling mulled wine would need a licence to be able to sell it, so it takes that form. And obviously we would still have, you know, myself or a member of the team who's a designated premise supervisor for that activity. We know we can't sign away that responsibility, but what we can also do is ensure that the person who's transferring that alcohol has a personal licence, and that will include working with local businesses as well, in terms of those particulars. There's outdoor seating areas around different spaces within their licensed premise. We then engage one of them to provide a alcohol supply within St Nicholas Square. Obviously it would be the regulated sale in terms of the Challenge 25, security and site, everything like that. But we would engage with different premises so they could have their own trading, but they'd also have to have their own controls in place as per their existing premises licence and their outdoor seating areas.
Thank you. No, any more questions from anybody? Okay. Well, so thanks for all your answers and what you've said there. I think we go on to item 6. Isn't it? No. So do we go out or? Yeah, the applicant can start the application. Okay. If you would just like to sum up your application, then we retire for a decision. Thank you.
Yeah, just closing remarks are, like I say, that the whole idea of this is to provide a level of control, governance, a process, so we can engage and animate the space for Colchester. And in animating that space, it's a space for all, for everybody to be involved. That's my closing submission.
Thank you very much. Well, what we do, we will just retire. We'll be back shortly. Thank you. Thank you for waiting while we had our discussion. Well, after careful deliberations, the licensing subcommittee has reached the decision to grant the application made by Colchester Amphora Trading Limited for a new premises licence in respect of the premises known as St Nicholas Square, Colchester. In reaching its decision, the subcommittee carefully considered the information that had been placed before it as part of the application, including the representation which had been made by an interested party. The subcommittee accepted the assertions of the application, that the application which was before it was designed to provide a range of regulated activities which it was hoped would be to the overall benefit of the businesses and visitors of the city centre. It further noted that although it was not possible to place conditions on the licence in relation to live music, which was deregulated, if issues arose in the future, the licence was subject to review, then such conditions could be applied. All parties have the right to appeal this decision to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days of the date of this decision, and further information in relation to this will be provided by the licensing officer. Thank you. As summarised, I think the biggest question or query was the fact that they felt possibly had any discussions with you. So, and I think you made your point quite clear. You're going to have a dedicated phone number that they could ring if they needed to, and you'll possibly with any sort of complaints you'd mostly keep record of, and that you will be consulting with the local businesses and changing the area, which I think would be good. So, thank you very much, and thanks for